everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're going to be taking a look at 5 different games here, giving you short reviews of each of them. And that's basically it, so let's get started. We're going to go from biggest to smallest. Here we go. Okay, first we have Druids of the Elements here. Now, Druids, when I first saw this game, I was like, is this the right year? It says 2023 on here, but it looks like it's from 1991 or something like that. The Grand Council of Druids has convened once again to determine who will be the Archdruid of the Sacred Forest. Blah, 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 you and your wolf. Okay, so let me show you how to play and we'll be right back. In this game, you have a random grid here of tiles that you're going to put out. Each player has a wolf and a druid, and there's some cards here. You'll start with a couple cards. And what you're doing in this game is you're trying to play these cards in front of you. This is the whole point of this game, is to play these cards in front of you. Whenever you play one in front of you, you'll play it to the front or the back of the line, and then you're going to get points based on sequences of different colors or the same color, and also they give you points on them if you meet the requirement. Like this one, you have to discard some gems. This one, you need to have people on those specific spots on the board, although you can rotate it and things like that. So on a player's turn, they have 2 actions. One of those actions can be draw one of these cards or draw 2 of these cards. These are the element cards. Players can also discard 2 of the same element card to get a gem, or 1 if one of their characters is on the spot that matches that element. Also an action is move your wolf 1 or 2 or move your druid 1. Another action you can do is do the action on the board. Turn 1 gem into 2, push somebody. This one you can warp from this spot to this spot, which isn't really a great positioning for that. And then finally you can play one of these cards in front of you. You have to discard a card of that type, a gem of that type, or be in the spot of that type. And when you play one of these, everyone else can also do it. There's a few more rules, but that's the basic gist of the game. And when the deck runs out, you're going to take all the cards in front of you and score them, and whoever has the highest points is the winner. This is not a looker, right? It doesn't look very good. It's very boring looking and old looking, and unfortunately for me, the gameplay kind of matched that. Druids is a game that to me is best described as plotting. You are going to, and people will probably say this who enjoy the game, they like the idea of getting these cards and putting them in front of you in a row, although it takes a lot of work to do that because you're trying to put them in order. Maybe put several cards of the same color next to each other, or maybe have different colors next to each other, or meet the requirements on them. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is to set these cards up. Have things in the different spots, whether they're yours or other people, just have different druids and dogs in those spots, or collect gems. There's almost a little bit of takinoko here. The problem is it's so slow. It's ponderous. You are sitting there and you just say, okay, on my turn, I'm going to move my druid 1 space and I'm going to draw some cards. On this turn, I'll move the wolf 2 spaces and draw a card. And then finally, you get to play one of those cards, and that's a little more interesting. And yes, everyone else can play a card if they're prepared for it. And I just found the whole thing to be fairly yawn-inducing, and the way it looks doesn't help. So this is a 5 out of 10. I don't really enjoy it, just kind of boring. Druids. Bower is a duel between 2 birds, I think. You're trying to attract attention by building your nest. Okay, well, that makes sense, sort of. Let's take a look. In this game, you're going to put this in between each player, and then you're going to pick 3 out of 8 eggs and put them randomly in front of each player. And so they can see, and I'll lay these down so you guys can see them. You can see that in this column, you want to have the majority of red flowers, the majority of white feathers, and the majority of yellow flowers. In this column, you need the majority of red feathers, but you don't know that, only your opponent does. Player's going to have a tile, and on your turn, you'll draw one of these 3 face-up tiles, and then pick between your tiles and place it, but you need to place them adjacent to each other so that you are going to, as time goes by, be building a grid here that is equal to the number of columns, which is 6, by 4. When you are done, when players are done with that, they're going to score. The only other thing that matters in this situation is if you ever get 3 of these gems in the same column, you get a bonus tile. You'll draw 3 bonus tiles, and you get to pick one of them. Some of them are endgame scoring. It says if you have the most red things at the end of the game, you'll get an egg. Some are immediate things, and some are tiles that you can place out. Now, at the end of the game, you're going to take a look. Let's quickly put out some tiles here. You're going to take a look at each column and compare it to your opponents. So here I have 1 red flower. Here I needed purple flowers. I got 1. White feathers, I got none. Here I needed red feathers, 1. Yellow flowers, none. And over here, white flowers, none. Now, obviously, I would have worked harder to get a better score than that. But for each column where you're winning, you get an egg. Also, you'll take a look at each of your groups. So here's the group of the hay. Here's the group of the green. I have a group of 3 green, a group of 4 hay, and a group of 1 white. And whoever has the bigger group of each of those 3 also gets an egg. And like I said, some of these tiles might give you an egg. And whoever has the most eggs is the winner. This game has a small problem. That little thing in the middle is to keep you, I think, from accidentally seeing your player's eggs on the other side. I guess if they fall over. But we quickly took this part out. And that's because you can't see your opponent's tiles over it. At least the first row or 2. And that's pretty important to see what they're putting there. So the game has some interesting concepts, right? You're trying to make groups and you're putting these tiles in, although your place you can put tiles isn't that, interesting. You only have so many places to put tiles. And to be clear, this is also a fairly short game. The bonus tiles is an interesting thing, although you're going to have to look them up every single time to see what they do, because not all of them are so easy to remember. A couple of them are like, oh, these are endgame points, which in my opinion are the best ones. The one-time uses are okay. But anyhow, you're also watching where your opponent, if they put 3 red feathers in a column, I'll go, well, I guess that's red feathers, because I don't have red feathers. Now, you don't know exactly what they have in each column, because there's 8 different eggs and 2 of them are not in the game. But if I see you putting a bunch of something in one column, I think, well, maybe I can tie that or something. At least stop you from winning the egg. If I can win all 3 of my eggs and stop you from winning one of yours, boom, I'm ahead. And you're also making patches. This all sounds very interesting. It's just not as fascinating as you might think. This game is functional. I don't think it's bad. I think it's fine. I also think it's completely forgettable. No one will remember it in a while. But I'll play it, I guess. So that's a 6 out of 10 for me. It's not something that I'm super excited about. There's some interesting ideas of doing that, and getting the bonus tiles is kind of fun. But you're also really at the mercy of the tiles you get. Sometimes a really good tile is just not out there, and you just say, well, I'll take this tile and I'll put this out and then hope that I get a good tile next turn. So it's fine. It's just that I think it's already been forgotten and it's barely out. So that's Bower. 3 of a Kind is a new party game from Weird City Games. Each round, select a category and write answers based on 3 different adjectives. Here's how it plays. In this game, each player is going to get a little answer card that inside you can open up. You'll keep track of your score, and you keep track of rounds here. So one person's going to go first. They're the dealer. They're going to draw 2 categories and pick one. Expensive things, morning activities. I pick expensive things. Then the next 3 players each get 2 adjectives, and they're each going to pick one. I'll put them out randomly. The quickest expensive thing, the purest expensive thing, and the craftiest expensive thing. Then everybody write something down. So let me write them down secretly here as I look at these. You're going to write down one answer for each one, but you can't write the same thing down. So let's see, the purest expensive thing. And the craftiest expensive thing. I don't even know what that means. Okay, so I wrote first class ticket for the quickest expensive thing, love for the purest expensive thing, and Rolex watch for the craftiest expensive thing. It doesn't really matter what you write. Your answer doesn't have to be right, as long as you match other players. For each other player you match on each answer, you'll mark a box off here. And after 6 rounds, whoever has the most points is the winner. That's the game. Let me show you some categories. Subjects in high school, light sources, planets. Items in a junk drawer, movie genres, animal noises, music genres, superheroes, green things, Alice in Wonderland characters. And adjectives would be grouchiest, most relaxing, most logical, coziest, wildest, most surprising, wisest, most likely to succeed, etc. 3 of a Kind is one of those games where I read the rules and I was like, okay, we'll give it a try. And then we enjoyed it. And I played this many times with many groups of people. We had a good time. The idea of writing down something, sometimes you write the most ridiculous thing down that doesn't really match the answer. You know, like what's a big this isn't maybe from the game, but like a big kaiju and two people write Clifford. Clifford is their big red dog. It's not technically a kaiju, but that's a funny answer. And as long as you match someone, that works. You also can't write the same answer down for all three, which is good. And sometimes someone will write an answer down for one that you wrote that same answer down, but you thought it fit another adjective better. This is a time waster party game. By that I mean you got some people sitting around. Oh, we're going to do something in 20 minutes. Hey, while we're waiting, let's play three of a kind. The whiteboards and everything work really well. It's just a nice, smooth little party game that I enjoy. Definitely check it out. Three of a kind. Hungry Monkey is a little game here. This is a reprint of a game. Eric Anderson Suden did this. But this game itself from Heidelberg is a game that has existed in like probably 30 different forms. Maybe not, maybe that many. But I played a game called Pig Pile. Richard Garfield has made a variant on this. It's the same kind of variant where you're basically getting rid of the cards in your hand and from in front of you. Let me show you. In this game, each player is going to get 4 cards from the deck face down in front of them, 3 cards into their hand. You'll have a card, this cat card, that's somewhere in the deck, depending on the number of players, that triggers the end of the draw pile. Now, the cards in this draw pile are all different numbers of animals, although there are the monkeys inside, the hungry monkeys, which are wild. And on your turn, what you're doing is you're playing a card from your hand. So I can play a 4 here in the middle, or if I have 2 4s, I could play 2. Let's say, for example, I have 2 11s, I can play those 2 11s there. But a card has to be valid, which means it has to be higher, equal to or higher than the number that's already out there. If you don't have a valid card, then you take the top card of the draw pile and put it on. If it's valid, you're fine. Otherwise, if it's not, you take all the cards, including that card, and put them in your hand. So your hand gets bigger. And then you draw back up to 3 if you're lower than 3. So you're going to continue to do this. Once the draw pile runs out, at that point, you can, when your cards from your hand are empty, you can start playing cards from here and putting them on a pile. And if that works, and you don't get them back in your hand, if you get rid of all your cards, you win the game. Some of the cards do various special effects, like I already mentioned, the monkeys are wild. The snakes let you look at one of your face-down cards. Ones can be played on top of anything. When you play an 8, the next card must be lower, and so forth. Also, if you ever play 4 of the same number, that's called a gang of 4. If you put the 4th card, doesn't matter if you or someone else played it, then all the cards just get discarded without people playing. You can also play multiple games where the first people to go out are going to draw some bean cards, and these bean cards are going to have various numbers of beans on them for a total winner later on. Hungry Monkey has some cool art on here, kind of a distinctive theme. They found a specific artist to do this art here, Shushriti Bhattacharjee. I apologize, I very much butchered that name, but it's a cool kind of theming for the game, and it's okay to play. I played these games. One of my first reviews was of a game like this, again, called Pig Pile. These are the kind of games that are time wasters, but it stops short from saying it's something that I want to play all the time. The bean scoring, by the way, that's complete nonsense. I'm not playing this game that many times, but it's just, play cards. Oh, I played the 4th one. Oh, now 8. Now you got to go down. I'll play 11s. I'm going to try to make the next person take the big pile in their hand. Whatever. It's silly, Uno-esque fun, so it's close to something I would approve, but I give this one a 6.5. Coyote is a reprint. There's been many versions of this game. This is one of the smallest versions of Coyote. This is a bluffing game where you can see everybody's card but your own, and it's a little bit like a popular game called Liar's Dice or Perudo, where you are outbidding each other. This new version has some twists to it. Let me show you. In this game, each player puts 3 cards in front of them, 2 on the sunny side, a peaking side, 1 on the night side. Think of this as your life. There's a small deck of cards that comes with the game that is going to go from 1 all the way up to 10, then 15, 20, -5, -10. This turns the highest card to 0. This draws a random card off the top of the deck. Everyone is going to shuffle and get a card that is put in a holder in front of them where everyone else can see the card except you. And then you're going to see everyone else's cards. So let's say, for example, oh, I also forgot, there's also going to be 1 card face down in the middle of the table. Now, here's the cards I see. So I see a 1, -5, plus a random 1 off the top of the deck. So I don't know what that's going to do, but I have to make a bid on my turn. So maybe I would say 5. And the next person has to go higher or call me out. So let's say, for example, it gets to 10, and someone calls that person out. By the way, at any point on your turn, you can spend one of these to peek at this card in the middle, but then you have to raise the bid. You can't call the next person out. But let's say 10 was called out. So we reveal all the cards. So we have a 5 minus 5, so that's 0. A 1. A 2, that's 3, plus the top one from the deck. So we draw the top card from the deck. It's 10, 13 is higher than 10. So therefore, the person who called them out is wrong. If it had been less than 10, the person they were calling out would be wrong. Either way, whoever is wrong has to lose one of their cards, and the person who was correct gets to flip one of these cards over to this side. You keep going until there's only one person left. That person wins. When you have all 3 cards, you're eliminated. There's also a way to play with a Coyote, where the loser gets to put a card in the middle, an extra card, and you can also vote who do you think will win a challenge. But that's how you play. The only knock I can really put against Coyote, and by the way, I'm giving Coyote a 7.5, very enjoyable game, is the cards themselves. I think they're going to get, because they have all that gold on them, that's neat and shiny, but they're also going to get nicked as time goes by. I don't know a good way about that. I guess this is a game you would have to sleeve. So this version of Coyote, and there's been many versions. There's been ones where you put a feather on your head and a headband. There's ones where there's just different styles of this game. This one I like because it adds that card in the middle that you can peek at. And that's a nice little addition. It's not a ton, it's just a little additional thing that you can do. But having one more card in the mix makes things just slightly more chaotic, and slightly more chaotic in Coyote works well. I love the card that makes the highest card go to 0, because there's a 20 and a -5. Like, we got this. But then there's the highest card goes to 0, so now it's a 0 and a -5, and suddenly it's shifted dramatically. This is a game of laugh out loud. I don't normally like games that have the player elimination in them, but it's pretty quick. It plays out pretty quickly. If you like games like Liar's Dice Perudo, you will enjoy this one also, and it's a nice, small, good package. So check it out, Coyote. And there you go, folks. Some good, some not so good. 5 short reviews here in the Dice Tower. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time. Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you, and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vasel.